Now, majority of you have seen the video with this guy, and I'm not even going to post his video, but I'm going to break it down for you. So this is a man with his full chest. He came up on the internet to advise men about the difference between a Nigerian woman saying no and an international woman saying no, because apparently you could keep going, like when you're trying to be intimate with a woman, and no matter at what level she says no actually doesn't mean no. That means that you can keep pushing forward. But when it comes to an international woman, please just go put some ice cold water on your PP area to calm yourself down, because that could potentially lead you to jail. And my question is, why are we degrading Nigerian women? Because I thought the value of women should carry weight regardless of your country, regardless of where you find yourself. A no should always be no. And it baffles me, and I always say God will always reveal people by who they are, because the way they do not know how to control their mouths, which I'm grateful for that, because we get to see exactly how people actually think. And this is why I will never go with the narrative that people don't know exactly what they're doing. Even when we talk about abusive parents, a lot of people will say, oh, but that generation didn't know better. No, they knew exactly what they were doing. But because there are no consequences to their actions, they feel it is okay. Because majority of the parents who actually traveled abroad knew that they couldn't exhibit that kind of behavior outside, because they knew there were consequences. But when it came to Nigerians, they could get away with everything, because actually, who is going to give them consequences? Who is going to call them up and say, listen, this is what you did actually could land you in jail? No one does that, because this is also why a lot of Nigerian women, when they go through certain abuses, they are so scared to actually come out and speak about it, because not just men or women would judge the situation. You go and tell a police officer that you've been abused, and they would ask you, but what were you doing there? And what were you wearing? And different kind of situations. That gives, and mind you, we have seen scenarios where even they themselves are part of these kind of interactions, so they do not see anything wrong with that, and will now blame it on culture and say, oh, but it's our culture. No. Why are we teaching our men that they shouldn't treat women right? We have to teach these things from when they're little, because if you let them get away with anything, they'll get to this adult stage and feel, oops, they can do absolutely anything to your kids. And I always say this, trust me when I tell you, if a woman wants to be involved in certain activities, there's a way they move, there's a way they're open to it. Majority of the times, even when you want to do something in your head, there comes a point where you could say, you know what, I'm scared right now, I'm not going to do it. But with the Nigerian mentality, they tell you to keep pushing. And somehow you end up doing things that you never really wanted to do, and then you spend the next few weeks trying to blame yourself of, oh my God, why did I even let this happen? And why did you let this happen? Because a man in Nigeria doesn't have value for women. They do not understand that your no actually means no. And the truth is, a lot of people say not all men do this, which is correct, but the other side of the truth is men in Nigeria were not taught how to actually treat women. Neither were women taught how to deal with men. All we knew is don't mess around with boys, don't mess around with girls. And then when we grew up, everybody expected us to know exactly how to be perfect partners. But we don't know. We're just literally playing the guessing game. A system without consequences will give way to more monsters. Because why is it that, number one, a man can do whatever he chooses to do with a woman because he doesn't understand the concept of no, and even when reported, nothing is being done? Why is it that our leaders can get away with siphoning money from their states, and do the most heinous kind of crimes, but guess what? There's no accountability and there's no punishment. How do you expect to control a country where there's absolutely no consequence? And this goes back to the case where they were arguing like, okay, not all police are bad. The truth is that we all know, for example, that not all police are bad, but how are we supposed to know which ones are the good ones? How do we know these situations where when they see bad ones, there's nothing being done to it? They literally hide their faces and somehow they recycle them back into the system. And speaking of this, I just want to mention, because I've been thinking about this for a while. Whatever happened to these people? Now, a lot of people might think that we cover stories and we forget about the stories but it's not true. Someone like me, I tend to think about different stories I have discussed over a period of time, and for some strange reason this boy popped into my head last night, and I wondered. This was a boy, if you guys do not remember, this was a boy that was unalived by the police, right? And till now I still don't know what was done. I woke up this morning and I looked for stories regarding him, and nothing. That's how the system allowed this case just vanish into thin air, and people would think we forgot, but we did not forget. What is the justice that was done to this boy? Because this is a boy who was pleading and begging and trying to tell the police that, listen, I don't know anything about this, but I know who sent me to this location. Until today, I have not heard anything. And if you guys know anything about this story, please let me know, because I am curious. Now we go back to the second story. Whatever happened to her? We all know that she was found unalived in the house of David Umahi, the Minister of Works. And for some reason, the media and everything, they just switched the story up in such a way. But what has happened to her case? Why are we not speaking about her case? What happened? Why are there not consequences? We are seeing David Umahi just move around freely, and there's no accountability. And no one is speaking about this anymore. These are stories that haunt someone like me, because I'm an empath. I want to know, where have they gotten? What has the court said? What have the police said? This is why we cannot trust our system, because there are no consequences in our system. And then you expect men to know what is right or wrong, or women to know what is right or wrong, when there are no punishments for crimes like this. I always say, you know what, if you allow a person mess with you more than once, you're just opening the door for them to keep messing with you. Whatever happened to that young man, and what happened to this woman's case? Because if you guys are aware of it, please let me know, because mama needs to know. When it comes to ill behavior, please never let anybody confuse you that it is cultural and this is how it is done in Nigeria. We do not hold people accountable for their crimes, and this is exactly why our country is where it is today. And people say, oh, they don't know. Yes, they know. Everybody knows right from wrong. They just choose to do wrong because they know nothing is ever going to happen to them. But let's be guided, men. Please teach your children, especially your male kids, that no means no. I'm so sick of talking about these kind of stories all the time, because it's not making sense to me anymore. Anyway, have a nice day.